Pakistan is indeed the most unique case in geopolitical studies in contemporary times, especially in the Muslim world. It is not easy to understand Pakistan. People often confuse Pakistan with Arab countries or other ethno-Muslim countries like Turkey or Iran. Pakistan was born in 1947 as an ideological Islamic state and not as an ethno-nationalist country like Arabs, Persians, or Turks. Since its birth, Pakistan made two hardcore ideological enemies, Hindu India and Jewish Israel. One stood for Greater India and the other for Greater Israel. Both were natural allies against Pakistan. Both Hindu Zionists and Jewish Zionists have always taken Pakistan as their mortal enemy, the final resistance to their expansionist ideologies. So, a perpetual war exists between Pakistan and Israel-India alliance. Since 1947, Pakistan also had another powerful enemy, Soviet Union. India and Soviet Union were strong allies during the Cold War, and in 1971 USSR, India and Israel managed to seriously damage Pakistan when the eastern wing of the country, East Pakistan, was separated and became Bangladesh after a brutal war sponsored by all three countries. During the Cold War, Pakistan had aligned itself with the Americans to protect itself against the combined threat of USSR and India. In 1967, after the Arabs were defeated in 6 days' war, Pakistan responded by sending its air force to Jordan, Syria, and Egypt to defend these countries and shot down multiple Israeli fighter jets, the only Muslim country to do that. Pakistan repeated that again in 1973 and shot down more Israeli jets. Before that, in 1965, Pakistan had destroyed much of the Indian Air Force too. But after Pakistan went to war against Israel in 1967, U.S. abandoned Pakistan totally, resulting in the breakup of the country in 1971, when U.S. offered no help against combined USSR, Israel, and Indian war against Pakistan. It was the U.S. betrayal in the breakup of the country which forced Pakistan to take the nuclear path. In 1979, USSR entered Afghanistan. Now, once again, Pakistan was faced with an existential crisis. Two hardcore enemies on eastern and western flanks. This time, even U.S. had a crisis. They wanted to stop USSR from reaching warm waters of Gulf, and Pakistan had its own reasons for destroying and taking revenge on USSR. So an alliance was born. It was not a war for U.S. It was a war for Pakistan's own survival against a mortal enemy, USSR. The interests of Pakistan and U.S. just converged. With the help of China, U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait, Pakistan created the largest resistance force of the Afghans against the Soviets. Hence, Mujahideen and Jihad against the Soviets were born. After 10 years of brutal war led by Pakistan, Pakistan took its revenge, and Soviet Union disintegrated into history. From Central Asia to Eastern Europe, new maps were born, new nations created. When the Berlin Wall fell, the chief of the German intelligence sent a rock from the wall to the DGISI with an interesting inscription, "To the one who delivered the first blow." While the U.S. was so desperately dependent upon Pakistan to stop the Soviets, Pakistan was secretly building its nuclear bomb from the funds given by the U.S. to fight the Soviets. By 1984, Pakistan has already created a bomb, but Pakistani President General Zia kept it a tightly guarded secret. Americans were totally deceived. Pakistan used the American desperation to destroy the mortal enemy USSR and also to build the first nuclear bomb in the Muslim world. Now, both India and Israel were shocked too. Pakistan's alliance with the U.S. in Soviet-Afghan war was the masterstroke of geopolitics and diplomacy, which completely turned the tables against all enemies of Pakistan and Muslim world. Soviet Union was destroyed. Israel, India checkmated. Pakistan sided with the Americans to destroy the Soviets and checkmate the Israelis and Indians. Many years later, when Americans came to Afghanistan and once again arm-twisted Pakistan to join their war against Afghanistan, Pakistan deployed the same playbook, played along, but also began developing its missile program with funds given by the Americans, developing missiles which could reach Israel and farthest corners of India. General Musharraf never stopped the nuclear program or the missile program, despite giving promises and assurances to the Americans. Well played. Also, Pakistan hedged its bets against the Americans by protecting the Afghan resistance, hosting their families, and covertly backing the Taliban. Years later, when Americans were defeated, they realized that Pakistan played them like a fiddle. While Pakistan played along Americans in the last 20 years, Islamabad was also building strategic ties with China. Pakistan Army was hedging its bets in case U.S. decides to impose sanctions on Pakistan, which it had done multiple times in the last 60 years. A strategic defense and economic partnership were built with China, resisting the extreme American pressure. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor was built, and fourth-generation fighter jets was procured, reducing Pakistan's dependence on F-16s. Now Pakistan was set to go solo. This year, the first real test came for Pakistan's grand strategy of balancing its geopolitical interests between various global powers and making its impact on the global scale. In May, India attacked Pakistan Pakistan with Western technology. Pakistan responded with Chinese tech. India was totally destroyed, and the rules of the game changed forever in West Asia. The entire world saw Pakistan as the new boss of the region, and everyone rushed in to make alliances and seek patronage. Chinese, Americans, Russians, Turks, Saudis. India was isolated, abandoned, and defeated. Overnight, Pakistan built an incredible global clout backed by its military power and nuclear weapons. Then came the Iran-Israel war. Despite extreme American pressure, Pakistan did not stay neutral in that war. Russia, China, North Korea, and Pakistan joined the war and beat Israel to pulp. Pakistan had a major hand in destroying Israel. In May, when India had attacked Pakistan, Israel was directly involved too. Israeli drones and IDF operators were fighting against Pakistan alongside Indians. So when the time for revenge came, Pakistan paid back in full and much more. Now Indians want to invade Pakistan again. Israel is fully backing India. Indians reached out to Afghan Taliban and offered them a deal. For the last 20 years, Indians have been using Afghanistan to send in proxy terror gangs of TTP and BLA. Under the American occupation, Indians were having a free run to manage and insert terrorist gangs inside Pakistan, just like they had done in East Pakistan earlier in 1971 by creating Mukti Bahini terror gangs or Tamil Tigers in Sri Lanka. Pakistan suffered 100,000 dead and wounded in the last 20 years at the hands of Indians-backed, Afghan-based proxy insurgencies. During the Soviet war in Afghanistan, Pakistan has created 6 Mujahideen parties to lead the resistance. In 1992, when Kabul fell, infighting began within the Mujahideen, and the chaos led to the rise of Taliban, led by Mullah Omar. From 1996 to 2001, Pakistan had excellent relations with Taliban. Mullah Omar was a brave, sensible man and understood the importance and position of Pakistan within the Muslim world. He never raised the issue of border dispute with Pakistan, nor sent any terror or insurgencies. Pakistan had the safest western borders in its entire history when Mullah Omar was in power. He was overthrown by Americans in 2001, and then crisis started for Pakistan. During the American occupation, Indians exploited the chaos in Afghanistan and created a terror gang called TTP, the Pakistani Taliban, giving the perception that these are a branch of Afghan Taliban who are waging a war for enforcement of Islamic Sharia law in Pakistan. In reality, they were all Daesh-like Khawarij cutthroats, heavily manned by Indian intelligence and even CIA's Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC. During this time, Afghan Taliban never fired a shot towards Pakistan or showed any hostility, that were focused on fighting the Americans and did not want to open Pakistani front. Also, their senior leadership, including Mullah Omar, would never allow that. But once the Americans left and Taliban took power, Mullah Omar was already dead. The new Taliban's second-generation leadership was less religiously ideological and more ethno-nationalist. Indians immediately reached out to them and offered them a very lucrative package, and the Taliban fell for it. Afghan Taliban immediately claimed half of Pakistan as their own territory and refused to accept the Durand Line as international border. To liberate the Pakistani-occupied Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Baluchistan provinces, TTA immediately got to work and started sending its own fighters along with Pakistani Taliban. Now a dangerous nexus had been built. TTP found a state backer in Kabul. Their base area was secured, supply line was established, and manpower guaranteed. Suddenly, Pakistan started to suffer massive casualties with TTP relaunching their war with better American weapons, thermal sights, drones, and IEDs. When the Americans were present in Afghanistan and Indians were operating under their umbrella, Pakistan could never follow the TTP into Afghanistan under hot pursuit. So Pakistan was only left to fight a reactive, defensive, passive war within its borders, within its own cities and streets. Result was catastrophic. Urban insurgency being fought within Pakistani cities. Even Islamabad was bombed multiple times. Pakistan had hoped that once Afghan Taliban took power, they will deal with the TTP problem. But instead, TTA joined forces with TTP, and the threat was magnified for Pakistan. In May this year, India attacked Pakistan. Now in October, India is again planning another massive invasion. Within Pakistan, the insurgencies of TTP and BLA had suddenly exploded, causing huge casualties to Pakistan. Pakistani patience with Afghan Taliban was reaching its breaking point. It was clear that Indians have launched their proxies through Afghanistan to soften up the Pakistani state before their conventional invasion from the east. And then the Afghan foreign minister visited India this week to create a joint attack plan against Pakistan. That broke the proverbial back of Pakistani patience. So this was the background to the historical context as to why Pakistan finally decided to hit the TTP assets being protected by Afghan Taliban. The betrayal by Afghan Taliban was bad enough, but Pakistan had been tolerating it for the last 3 years. But the urgency to hit the TTP and TTA came from the fact that Indians are planning a massive invasion-level war from the east. And Afghan Taliban were willing to create a security crisis for Pakistan on the Western Front. Pakistan had to avoid a three-front war: East, West, and internal insurgencies. TTP and BLA are both controlled from Afghanistan, so that was a natural target first before the Indian invasion. The disinformation is being spread that Pakistan is attacking the anti-American Taliban to please the Americans. Nothing can be further from truth. It is the TTA which wants half of Pakistan and are sending in insurgencies in alliance with Indians. This has nothing to do what Americans or Trump wants. It's what Indians or Afghan Taliban want. Indians are about to invade. Pakistan is trying to secure its Western Front before that happens. That's all. America's nowhere in the equation. Afghan Taliban are pimping themselves to India and damaging Pakistan. Pakistan is trying to bring them in line. That's all.